My dad spotted me limping before I even reached the sidewalk. I had my baby on my hip, trying to balance the diaper bag with one hand, pretending everything was fine. But he knew. He always knew. "Why are you walking?" he asked, already opening his car door. "Where's your car?" I hesitated. For a second, I almost lied. That's the part one hated admitting. I had gotten used to covering things up. "His mom took it," I said quietly. "She said I'm lucky they let me stay." The words sounded worse out loud than they did in my head. My dad didn't react the way I expected. No yelling. No questions. Just a tight jaw and a silence that felt heavier than anger. "Get in the car," he said. I stood there for a second, frozen. "Dad, it's not. We're fixing this tonight." That's when something shifted in my chest. Not relief. Not fear. Something in between. I climbed into the car, still holding my son close, trying to ignore the way my ankle throbbed with every movement. My dad didn't ask anything else. He just drove. Fast. And for the first time in months, I realized I wasn't going back there the same way I left. Not after tonight. We didn't speak for the first 10 minutes. The silence wasn't awkward, it was loaded. My dad kept both hands tight on the wheel, eyes locked ahead like he was already 10 steps into whatever he was planning. I watched the streetlights pass, one after another, and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Not panic. Not guilt. Clarity. "Does he know you're leaving?" he asked finally. I shook my head. I told him I was taking the baby for a walk. That wasn't a lie. Just not the whole truth. My dad exhaled slowly. "Good." That word stayed with me. Good. Not "we'll talk to them." Not "we'll figure it out." Just good. Because deep down, I think he already understood what I hadn't fully admitted yet. This wasn't one bad day. It wasn't even about the car. It was the way his mother controlled everything, what I ate, where I went, how I spoke. The way he stayed quiet every time she crossed a line. The way I started shrinking without noticing. I shifted my son gently against my shoulder. He stirred but didn't wake. "Dad," I started, then stopped. He glanced at me briefly. "You don't have to explain." And somehow that made it harder to breathe. Because if I didn't have to explain it, then it meant it was already that obvious. We didn't go to my place right away. That surprised me. Instead, my dad pulled into a quiet grocery store parking lot and turned off the engine. The sudden stillness made everything feel louder. My breathing, my thoughts, even the soft rustle as my son shifted in my arms. "Show me your ankle," he said. "It's fine," I replied too quickly. He gave me a look I hadn't seen since I was a teenager, the one that meant I was done pretending. Slowly, I adjusted my leg. The swelling had gotten worse. A deep purple bruise wrapped around my ankle, darker than it had been that morning. His jaw tightened. How did that happen? I stared at it for a second, then looked away. I slipped on the back steps. That's not what I asked. The way he said it, calm, steady, cut through everything. I swallowed. His mom had moved some boxes out there. I didn't see them when I was carrying the baby. And I knew exactly what he meant. He said I should have been more careful. The words felt small. Smaller than what actually happened. My dad leaned back slightly, exhaling through his nose, like he was holding something in. Then he reached into the glove compartment and pulled out his phone. "Tonight," he said quietly, "we're going to have a very clear conversation." And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. We pulled up outside the house just as the porch light flicked on. She was already watching. His mother stood in the doorway, arms folded, like she'd been waiting for us. Not surprised. Not concerned. Just prepared. My stomach tightened. My dad stepped out first. Calm. Controlled. The kind of calm that makes people underestimate what's coming. "Stay here," he told me. I didn't argue, but I didn't stay either. I got out quietly, keeping my son close, standing just behind him. "Where is he?" my dad asked. She gave a small, dismissive smile. "Inside. And you must be her father. She didn't mention you'd be involved." The way she said involved felt like an insult wrapped in politeness. "He should have been," my dad replied evenly. That's when he walked out, my husband, phone still in his hand, like we'd just interrupted something more important. "What's going on?" he asked, already annoyed. I waited for him to look at me properly, to notice the limp, the way I was holding myself. He didn't. "She left without saying anything," his mother added. "I told you, she's emotional lately." My dad stepped slightly forward. "She didn't leave." I picked her up. Something shifted in the air, and for the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across my husband's face. No one raised their voice. That's what made it heavier. My dad stood there, steady, not reacting to the tension, not rushing anything. He looked past both of them, straight into the house like he was taking inventory of a place that had quietly worn me down. "I'll keep this simple," he said. My husband let out a short breath. "Look, if this is about the car." "It's not about the car." That stopped him. My dad turned slightly, just enough to make sure I was still behind him. Not hidden. Not exposed. Just there. "She's coming home with me tonight," he continued. "And she's not coming back until things change." His mother laughed softly. "That's not your decision." My dad didn't even look at her. "You're right. It's hers." For a second, no one moved. Then all eyes landed on me. That was the moment I hadn't prepared for. My husband finally stepped closer. "You're really going to make this a big deal?" he said quietly. "Over a misunderstanding?" A misunderstanding. I felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not fear. Just a quiet kind of clarity. I adjusted my son on my hip and met his eyes. "It wasn't one thing," I said. "It was everything." He frowned, like he genuinely didn't understand. And that's when I realized he hadn't been ignoring it. He had just never seen it the way I did. I didn't expect him to understand. But I also didn't expect how calm I felt standing there. "I'm not trying to fight," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I just need space. For me. For him." I shifted my son slightly, pressing him closer to my chest. My husband looked between me and my dad, like he was trying to figure out which version of the situation made the most sense. "You're overthinking this," he said. "Mom didn't mean anything by it." There it was again. Not denial. Just dismissal. My dad finally spoke. "Intent doesn't erase impact." That landed harder than anything else that had been said. His mother scoffed quietly. "So now we're the problem?" "No," my dad replied, still calm. "The problem is that she doesn't feel safe or respected here." Safe. The word hung in the air longer than it should have. My husband blinked, like that was the first time he'd actually heard something clearly. "Is that true?" he asked, looking at me now, really looking. For a second, I hesitated, because saying it out loud would make everything real. But then I thought about the walking, the ankle, the silence. "Yes," I said. And once it was said, there was no way to take it back. The silence that followed felt different. Not tense. Not defensive. Just exposed. My husband looked at me like he was seeing a version of me he hadn't noticed before. Not quieter. Not difficult. Just tired in a way that didn't show on the surface. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" he asked. I almost laughed, but it wouldn't have come out right. "I did," I said. "Just not in a way you heard." That landed. I could see it. His mother stepped in quickly, her tone sharper now. "This is getting out of hand. She's turning you against your own family." "No," I said, before I could stop myself. "I'm trying to stop disappearing in it." That was the first time I'd interrupted her. And she noticed. My dad stayed quiet, but I felt his presence behind me, steady, not pushing, just there if I needed it. My husband ran a hand through his hair, pacing once across the porch. "So, what? You're just leaving?" he asked. "For now," I answered. "And if things don't change?" I held his gaze, even though it wasn't easy. "Then I won't come back." No anger. No threat. Just truth. He stopped pacing. And for the first time since we'd arrived, he didn't look at his mother. He looked at me. He didn't argue after that. That surprised me more than anything. For a moment, it felt like everything paused. The porch light humming softly, my son shifting in my arms, the night air settling around us. My husband nodded once. Slow. Careful. Like he was choosing not to react the way he usually would. "Okay," he said. "Just that. No promises." No defenses. No quick fixes. His mother opened her mouth, ready to step in again, but he lifted his hand slightly. Not aggressive, just enough to stop her. I need to think, he added. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't closure. But it was the first honest thing I'd heard from him in a long time. My dad didn't say anything either. He just turned toward the car, giving me space to decide. And this time, it really was my decision. I looked at the house one last time. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. Just with clarity. Then I walked back to the car. No hesitation. No second-guessing. As we drove away, I rested my head back and closed my eyes, my son finally sleeping peacefully against me. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again.